Happy Sunday, everybody, and welcome to another Arkansas Football Recruiting Report. As always, that is Otis Kirk. I am Jacob Morris. Otis, we have finally, and I mean finally, reached fall camp. The Razorbacks finally back out on the field. We've seen them a little bit. We will get to that a little bit later, but as
Yeah,
always,
that's nice.
yeah, it's nice to finally be there. We've been blessed with weather too. That's the
Yep.
other thing. It could have been 100 degrees. I know we had to get up early on Friday, but it's been 80s. It's been nice. It's going to get hotter. It's going to be a lot worse. But it's nice to have
It is.
football back, and we
Sure.
will cover some fall camp stuff. But as always, let's hit some recruiting housekeeping first. Friday, the Hogs getting some good news again, Otis, in terms of Jordan Avenger, South Carolina running back. He commits, a guy that Arkansas wanted it. And we've talked a lot about, hey, they have, it seems like a million kids in this class, but where's the running back, right?
Yeah,
Well, here's the running back, and it's Jordan
there
Avenger.
they brought in three, and they really wanted Avenger, and one of them was already committed to Mississippi State, and then the other one was an Arkansas kid that they they couldn't get together on the NIL. I think is what it was. But anyway, Avenger, you know, the odd thing about him was he's got a lot of offers, but
Mhm.
Arkansas was the only one that wanted him at running back. He's the number one linebacker in South Carolina by some services, and everybody's recruiting him for linebacker. But the Hogs like him, and I'm going to tell you what. Somebody asked me, well, why do they like him for running back? I said, well, let me read this to you. 56 carries, 869 yards, 10 touchdowns, 11 catches, 275 yards, 2 touchdowns. 56 carries, 869 yards. Let that sink in.
That's 15 yards a carry for
Yeah,
everybody. Just
I mean,
I had to pull out a
it's
calculator for that
unreal.
one, but that's insane. Yeah.
I mean, that might have something to do with it, Jacob. I don't know. I'm not Sherlock Holmes, but that might have something to do with it. I honestly, I watched his film and I saw him in person, and I'm wondering why more schools don't want him at running
Mm.
back.
Yeah.
He's got legitimate speed. I mean, I I don't know. Okay, on defense he had 50 tackles, 39 solos, 6 for loss, a forced fumble, and so he had good stats there. But when you've got a running back, he's 6'2", 225 pounds,
Yeah.
and can get you 15, 16, 17 yards a carry, which he won't do in the SEC. We know that, but still, I mean that's unreal. He's going to get the same defenders as some of these other running backs that's averaging 6 or 7 yards a carry, and we think that's great. And he's getting 15 against them. Yeah, I mean, I like him. He's from South Carolina. I know they got the quarterback. We had
Gilmore. Yep.
yeah, we had him on here. He's from South
Hmm.
Carolina, and then they got the linebacker from North Carolina. So they're hitting the Carolinas a little hard, and I think that's good. They've branched out a little bit, and they've recruited there some in the past, but Desmond James was from North Carolina, and
Hmm.
they've had Geno Bells, South Carolina, long time ago. So they've had players there, but they're making a little bit more of a concentrated effort. It appears to be paying off. But Avenger's got great stats, and his size now. I've seen him
Yeah.
in person, and he's legit 6'2", 225 at least. And he's just a big kid. Seems like a nice kid, and you know, but yeah, Arkansas wanted him, and and depending on how many leave, they may end up taking one out of the portal later. But something that's odd about this class, Jacob. I think in a good way. But they've got 27 commitments from high school players. Remember, used to when they were limited at 25 signees,
Yeah.
counting JUCO. They've got 27 high school commitments. Now, obviously, none of those have signed yet, so who knows if they'll have
Hmm.
27 come December. But regardless, I mean, they're sitting really good with the high school. And see, I like that. They're going to try to develop some of these kids, and I know it's tougher with the NIL deal
Yeah.
and the time we live in where if the kids don't play, it's so much easier to just go hit the portal and try to find somewhere else. But I do like it. They've got the quarterback Javon Gilmore that we talked about earlier.
Hmm.
We talked about Avenger, and then they also got the fullback Ashton Dawson from
Hmm.
Freeport Evangel, and that's another big kid. I saw him in 7-on-7. He's 6'2", 285 pounds, and he is a load. And you wouldn't want to get in front of him and he and Avenger because they're big kids. They're sitting pretty good at receiver right now. They've got four, and I really like Hume and Henderson. Bentonville's sitting here with two good ones,
Hmm.
Blair Irvin, the third, and then the kid was Dequan Prevo, who was it Liberty Idaho. You
Hmm.
know, Prevo is up here at Bentonville now, and then Robert Haynes, who we had on the show, is from Texas, same school as one of the offensive linemen. So, got a couple of tight ends. And I'm gonna tell you, Kate Bush is a very good tight end, and another one's Javion Martin. And boy, Martin, I saw him at the camp when he was going out of the 10th into 11th grade. It was a year ago, and he man, I was wowed by him. He was just like, I saw a big kid walk by me, and I said, I don't know who he is, but I'm gonna find out. And I went and interviewed him, did a story for Pig Trail and Hogville, and turned out it was a
Yeah.
good catch there, because they ended up later on. Arkansas offered him. They had not offered him at the time. I don't even know if they knew that much about him at the time. But like I said, I looked into it. I was sitting on the side over there, and I saw this big, good-looking kid walk by me, and I said, "Man, I'm gonna find out who that is." And it was Javion. He's a real nice kid. And I saw him when he come up for his official visit. So yeah, Kate Bush, he and his parents knew me, so they watched the show each week. So that's good. And I'd love to have Kate on here sometime if he'd reach out to me. So get him on here before his season. Or his season may have just about started. They
Yeah.
start early up there. And then on the offensive line, let's see, they've got five offensive linemen, so they're sitting pretty good there. I really like I really like the kid that we had on here, the Gilmore kid.
Hmm.
What's the chances to have two Gilmores in this class? You got Javon Gilmore and Bryce Gilmore. I mean, of course, the Tucker kid from Tucker Young from Hot Springs Lakeside. We've had Hugh Smith been on
Hmm.
here, and Ashley Walker's from Florida. There's another kid, 6'7", 290, and then of course Ben Mabinga. That's an interesting story. He moved here in 2017, I believe, from overseas, and 6'5", 290, and a 4-star with some services. Probably should be with all of them, but
Hmm.
he's only played offensive line. He started out playing defensive end. We started out playing soccer.
Yeah.
Then he switched over to defensive end, and he switched to offensive line. I think he found himself a home, and they're setting good. We've had Colton Yarborough. I love that kid. Man, he's
Hmm.
just a great kid, great player. I saw him play live out at Gravett. Ari Slocum, Carnell Jackson, Cameron McGee. So they've got plenty there. They got a few linebackers. We talked about Caleb Gordon. I didn't name him, but from North Carolina, and then J.J. Bush was one of the more recent commitments, a 4-star from down in Texas. And then Victor Lincoln, they flipped late that last weekend too from Oklahoma State, and looking good there. He's a real good corner.
Hmm.
You've got I tell you, Austin Adams was one of the first commitments in this class, and he's from Oklahoma. Or Adam Austin. I'm sorry, Adam Austin. Adam Austin. I get his name, Austin Adams. It's Adam Austin. I flip that kid's name every time, man. I'm sorry about that, but it's Adam Austin from Lawton MacArthur. Just he is he's listed 6'1", 200, and he's 6'2", about 215, 220, and that's legit. I mean, he's a safety. If he keeps going downhill, you don't want to be hit by him. And Dalen Green can play safety or linebacker. He's kind of like J.J. Shelton or some of those kids, where he can either or linebacker or safety. Because I think they're wanting to play linebacker, but I asked about him when he was in, and a source told me, said the hardest hitting safety in Florida. That's how he described him. So whatever, he's going to hit somebody. He can come from safety or linebacker. And Kiwi Foster's a safety from Alabama that I like a lot too. 6'4", 6'3", 6'4", reminds me a little bit of I'm not comparing him to Atwater, just the way Atwater looked when he came out of high school. That's the way this kid looks, just size wise. Like I said, I'm not anywhere close as good as Atwater. Few are, but I'm just saying size wise. And just looking at him, he reminds you a little bit of Atwater when he came out of St. Louis up there in high school. So, and I hope people understand what I'm saying there, because I don't think I said he's, we got Kendrick Williams over here at Fayetteville, who we've had on here, defensive back, one of the local Fayetteville kids that can really play, and Jalen Copeland, 4-star cornerback out of Georgia. So they're Jacob, they've set really good. I mean, with getting running back, they're
Hmm.
sitting really good in this class. They signed the kicker last year. So they probably won't be one in this class. You hope not, because that means probably the kicker left or didn't turn out. And so you hope you don't. But other than that, they seem to be sitting pretty well at every position in this class. And it'll be interesting to see if they add any more. I know they're offering some more kids. I mean, there's another edge I know about, a wide receiver in Florida. So I mean, there's some other kids that they're on, and plus they might flip somebody. One of the kids that they wanted and committed somewhere else. They're still looking at a few of those kids. So this class could get to 30 before it's all said and done, but it may not, but it could. They're setting at 27. Like I said, usually about 18, 19, 20 kids from the high school, and then they filled out with portal kids. But they're taking a different approach this year. And honestly, I like the high school approach. Now, if a year from now, if we're sitting here talking, if we're both still doing this and I'm still here, if half that class is gone already, it may not be such a good idea.
Yeah.
I admit that. But I do like the thought of getting them in here, trying to keep them, develop them. I know everybody's not a Cam Ball, not going to be here for 4 or 5 years and stay around. I get that, and I don't think Coach Souders was stressed it when he said if we knew how much Cam Ball turned down to stay at Arkansas, I can imagine. I mean, think about. I know what some of these high school defensive linemen are getting. I know what these guys coming out of high school, unproven, really. I know what they're getting, and to think what Cam Ball with his talent could be getting. I mean, he's got to love Arkansas to turn that down. That's all I'll say, and I'm sure he does, and I'm sure the Razorback fans love Cam because boy, he can play.
Yeah.
But it would blow your mind if we knew. I don't know, but I mean, I'm just saying. I can imagine it would blow our mind if we knew what that kid was getting salary, what we was offered. I mean.
Yeah, absolutely an important retention piece for the Razorbacks. But the class of 2026 coming together, a lot of different pieces that'll be interesting to see where the Hogs add moving forward.
Yeah.
But it's time for a quick break here on the Arkansas Football Recruiting Report. When we return, we hit the field. Let's talk fall camp, all that and more after a quick message from our sponsors. All right, back here on the Arkansas Football Recruiting Report, Otis Kirk and Jacob Morris with you. And Otis, let's talk fall camp. We are a couple days in finally. It seems like it's taken forever to get here. We're just going to talk about a couple takeaways. What for you stood out? Obviously we don't get to see everything. We don't even get to see much in terms of fall camp, just a couple of periods each day. But from what you've seen, observation-wise, what stood out to you most?
I tell you, Mike Washington seems to have really taken a hold of that running back position, a big kid who looked good in the spring. One of the nicest kids I've ever met when he was on his recruiting visit, just a great kid. But I like that. The tight ends have looked good. I feel like with Platt and some of these kids, of course, some of these kids, Andrews, they've got some guys who big enough to block too. And Rohan Jones, boy, he's got some hands.
Yeah.
Reminds me a little bit of Luke Has out there catching passes, He reminds me of Luke a little bit because he's not the biggest tight end, but got really good hands. I feel like they've got a good mixture there, Jacob. That's what I'm getting at. And then wide receiver, they're not going to have an Andrew Armstrong who catches 80-something passes. They're not going to have that. But I do think they've got a deeper room and more versatile room. And I people talk about you've got to have a go-to receiver. Do you really? I mean, really, seriously, do you really have to have one? I mean, if you've got Antonio Jordan out here, you've got Cam Shanks here, you got Raylan Sharp there, you got Monte Harrison there, you've got all these other guys. I mean, why do you have to just go to one guy? I don't think you have to have a go-to guy. I think you can mix it up, and Taylor can keep the defense guessing that way. Is what I'm thinking, Jacob. I mean, and if somebody emerges as a go-to guy, then so be it. And Omega Blake's got SEC experience.
Yeah.
I just feel like, they lost CC, but I don't think that's going to just devastate them. I mean, I'm not saying he's not good. Sure, he would have helped them. He was up there on that depth chart for a reason. But I think what I'm getting at, I think they've got enough numbers and depth to offset that. And that's big because in the past, if they'd lost a key receiver, you couldn't have said they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have the depth there. I think between Monte Harrison and some of these other guys who maybe didn't play that much last year, C.J. Brown that were here, I think they'll emerge. And then all these newcomers are going to emerge. I really like the way they're set up in that wide receiver. And then the offensive line, we've talked about this. I think it's going to be better than it was last year. I think they've got you've got a legit battle going on that right side. You've got Keyshawn Blackstock and Kobe Brown at guard, Marion Harris, and Shaq at the tackle. So you've got a legit contests going or battles going there. And that gives you 7 offensive linemen, can play. And then you got guys on the other side, centers and stuff. So they're gonna have 7 to 8, 9 guys on the offensive line that can play. Corey Robinson, Fernando Carmona are just awesome on that left side.
Mhm.
They're gonna wipe out some defensive lines on that side. And then Kittler, I think, is a very good center. And regardless of who starts on that right side, I think all those kids will play, and I think they'll be good. And then linebacker, I think they're only getting deeper there. You've got Dick Sasori, obviously. We all know about that, but then you start adding Bradley Shaw and these other guys into the Wyatt Simmons. Wyatt Simmons seems to be coming on and getting some action. And he's been there a while, and he's up to about 240 something pounds. So he should be. I think they've got 5 corners that can play. But I think what's going to happen there, I think you'll see, and I know some of it happened even today. Jordan Young worked some at the nickel or at the hog, and I think that's what you're going to see. I think Julian Neal, who was great on this show, I think he'll be one of the corners. I'm going to tell you, Selman Bridges.
Yeah.
There again, I mean, Selman Bridges gets to the transfer portal, comes back, and then hosts every recruit on campus, and now he's going to probably start. I mean, that'd be a great story. Just get Selman sometime and just get that story on him. I should try to do that sometime. But he's a story in himself, just by the fact that he went to the transfer portal, he comes back. He didn't just come back; he got to hosting a bunch of recruits, and they all praised him. And now he's going to probably start, or at least if he doesn't start, he's going to certainly see playing time. And then you got Miguel Mitchell and of course sitting there at safety, and you got the guys there that we know about, Caleb Wooden and the others. But I think they're going to be. I asked Pittman the other day, and I asked him. I said, "You feel like this team got some depth?" And he said, "Yeah, and I do too. I really do." Now, obviously, as I said to him, the key is going to be finding the best 22 to get on the field. Well, you got to worry about get your starters legit before you start worrying about your depth. But I may be getting a little bit ahead of myself there. But I do think they've got enough depth that they can. If somebody gets hurt, just like they did at wide receiver with Ishmael, I don't think it's going to devastate this team. Now, if Taylor Green gets hurt or Xavier Story, Tim Ball, maybe we're talking a different situation. But for the most part, I've got to clarify that. For the most part, I don't think it's going to devastate them unless it's one like a Cam Ball or Taylor Green, because those are positions where you don't want to lose your best player.
Yeah.
Sorry, they might could even lose and absorb that better. But Cam Ball and Taylor Green are the 2 players I think of that if they lost them, it would be tough, man. It would be really tough. That's the 2 I'm thinking about is Cam Ball and Taylor Green.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, both those guys are obviously vital and all the above. They've stressed depth, and you mentioned the receivers right off the top. I think that's where everybody goes in terms of with the amount of production they lose, in terms of your top 8 guys, in terms of receptions a year ago are out the door. I mean, that is an unreal amount of production, and really when it comes down to it, it's are you a glass half full or a glass half empty type of guy? Because if you are a glass half full guy, you say, hey, honestly, last year maybe Talon was too reliant on Andrew Armstrong. Yeah. Maybe this will force him to look at different targets across the field. And if you are a glass half empty person, and I don't blame you, you say, I haven't seen anything. Maybe is this going to be the type of deal where Talon's a better quarterback, but lack of weapons, lack of options, stunts his development, right? It's just as we're not going to know until they face some quality defenses. But regardless, interesting to see. We are going to hit one more break here on the Arkansas Football Recruiting Report. When we come back, we'll wrap up with some more fall camp talk after a quick message from our sponsors. All right, back here on the Arkansas Football Recruiting Report, wrapping up shop. And Otis, quickly before we go, you mentioned takeaways there. You walked through each position group. What do you want to see moving forward in terms of where you may be a little bit uncertain on this team, and what do you want to see over the next couple of weeks of access to fall camp that'll make you say, hey, this is an area I'm uncertain about. I need to see more from this group.
Okay, I've got Quincy Rhodes Jr. at edge, and I've got Cam Ball at tackle. I want to see the other 2. 1, 2, or 3 step up on that. Is Justice Boone going to be the guy? Yeah. Charlie Collins going to be the guy? Danny Staley, Okie. Who's going to be the other 2 or 3 guys that are in there? Because you're going to rotate them. You need about 8 there. But we know 2. We know Quincy Rhodes and Cam Ball. But I want to see the other 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up to 6 guys. Is it going to? Justice Boone's getting a lot of reps. But what's he going to do when the lights come on? David Okie, I love him. I mean, Staley, Ian, big lineman. I just want to see that defensive line get deeper. Maybe then, if you lost Cam, God knows I don't want to lose Cam Ball, but maybe at some point, if you did, it wouldn't just devastate them. Right now, I mean, I I don't know. To me, that would devastate. Now, I just want to see. I want to see KJ get in there against Alabama A&M, KJ
Hmm.
Jackson, and put on a show and do like do like Malachi, and that way, if Taylor goes down, say Notre Dame or Memphis or wherever, and needs a break or something, and they put KJ in there, the offense doesn't just shut down. You
Yeah.
know, I want to see Braylon Russell. Whatever's one day he's second team, next day he's not in the top three. I want to see Braylon get whatever it is, whatever it is with him or the coach, whatever. I want to see that get straightened out because he's a very good running back. I want him to be in there in the mix with Mike Washington and Rodney Hill as you know, the other kids, all of them, AJ Green, Cam Settles, all those guys. I think they can all play, but you want to see Braylon produce. The tight ends, you know, we're talking about wide receiver production. You know, the tight ends caught 32 passes last year.
Mm.
29 of those are gone.
Yeah.
Andreas had 3 catches. That is it. Jaden Platt comes in. Of course, you've got others who caught passes. Rohan caught them at Montana State.
Hmm.
So it's not like they haven't caught passes, but I'm just saying right now that's what you're looking at is 3 returning catches by one player at that tight end position. So is Platt and Rohan going to be as good as we think they are? You know, we had them in the room yesterday
Yeah.
with Morgan Turner. It was good to get those two. I thought they were really good in there. But are they going to be good on the field? And produce a little bit. Like I said, I think Rohan can give them a lot of what uh, Luke gave them last year. I really do. And the year before, I think he has got that type of ability, similar size. I think he can do some of the things for us receiving wise. He probably is going to lead the tight ends in receptions. I think it's fair to
Mm.
guess that Rohan Jones will be that man. And then on defense, I just want to see. I want to see. We talked about. I talked about 5 cornerbacks checking. I want to see 2 or 3 take it,
Yeah.
run with it. I
Yep.
want to. If it's Selman Bridges, Julian Neal, Kenai Walker, know that it's going to be hot those first few games, so they're going to need depth. And I thought that was a mistake at Oklahoma State last year. They didn't play very many players, and I felt like I hurt them in the fourth quarter. I do. I said. I think you and I said that
Hmm.
that Sunday. The next day we said that on here, but they only chose to play 30 something players. But you got to play more than that in that heat, and I think they will, and hopefully they do. And I just want to see what happens there. And but I want the starters to be solidified, and then I want the depth to be kind of coming around, feeling like, well, if Selman does go out of the game for a minute, if he starts, can Singletary or Kanai or somebody take his place? That's what I want to see the next couple. And also kicking, man. I want to see this kicker solidify the position because in the spring he was erratic, and I know they said he had a good summer, but I want to see do it when the crowd's out there and he can do it in the game because kicking hurt him last year.
Yeah, yeah. A couple areas I think are important there. And like you said, I think corner and defensive line come to mind just in terms of there are
Yeah,
question marks there. It's great to say, yeah, we got depth. You don't want depth, you want studs, right? So
yeah,
you want
exactly.
somebody to come out and grab it, and it's great
And
if you have people that can rotate in, but you need somebody to grab the starting position. But that's all the time we have on this week's Arkansas Football Recruiting Report. That is Otis Kirk. I am Jacob Morris. We'll be back to talk to you next week.